So hello everybody, welcome to this live session. If you have just joined me, just do say hello. If you're watching the replay, put hashtag replay. Let's just turn my mail off. Welcome to this session where I'm going to be exploring this concept of unleashing your energy. So if you have just joined, let me know you can hear me and see me. Say hi in the chat. That'd be great to know you can hear. So I'd be interested to know what your interest is in this topic. Let's just get the notes up. So in this session, what I'm going to explore is how your body produces energy and what can affect your energy. And this will give you insights into what can help you improve your energy. So if you don't know me, my name's Simon Pimenta. I had ME CFS fibromyalgia for 8-9 years. And what I learned is that my mind was affecting my body. It was affecting my healing. And I teach people the strategies that help me go from not being able to walk for 1 minute at times to being able to work full time, play sport again, live an active life. Now, I did experience an injury a while back, which has slowed me down a bit, but life is still great. I still wake up in the morning ready to go. And I teach these strategies, as I say, and I make a lot of free videos and share free resources to help you move towards your goals. So if you do find this video helpful, check out my YouTube channel, check out my playlists where I've got topics that may be of interest to you, managing energy, strategies for energy, dealing with anxiety, dealing with dips and setbacks. So do check out those playlists. And if you want to know more, if you want more help, then at the end I'll tell you how I can help. So let's explore this topic, how your body produces energy. Now, when I learned this stuff, it was pretty technical. So I want to explain it in as simple a way as possible. Okay, so I'm going to share some slides and let's just pop me in there. And so just let me know if there's anything that's not clear to you as we go, and I can explain a little bit more. But consider if someone's got no energy, how is it that some people go quite quickly from having no energy to having lots of energy? So for example, this is Siren. She was from Norway. She came to see me. She was the first person I trained who was in a wheelchair. And this is hard to believe, but even now I think, wow, this is amazing. But on the second day of the training, she walked into the clinic. And you might be asking, how is it that someone went from being in a wheelchair, she was using a wheelchair for a year, to walking into the clinic on the second day? A week after the training, she went skiing only for 15 minutes, but that was a massive change. Okay, another client from Norway called Pimenta, she came to London. Again, she was using a wheelchair. She flew to London. We did 3 days of training on consecutive days. She flew back to Norway on the 4th day and climbed this mountain. Okay, it's about 1,000 meters high. This is Ben. He at one point couldn't get to the bathroom, and he was one of those people who was into extreme sports. But at one point, I remember him saying in January of the year where we started working together, he was struggling to get to the bathroom. Okay, and it only took him a few months after we started working together to the point where he got back on his bike. And initially he wasn't doing anything too extreme, but he was able to get back on his bike, and he sent me this picture. So let's explore this topic of how your body produces energy. If you have just joined, just do say hello in the chat. Let me know you can see me, hear me. But yeah, let's dive into this topic. Now, I'm going to share the technical bits for the people who are interested, but for the people who are not, I'm going to explain this in a very simple way. You may have heard people talk about ATP, okay, which is adenosine with 3 phosphate groups. Think of that as being 3 bits of energy, okay? Then we have ADP, which is 2 units of energy, and then AMP, which is 1 unit of energy. As I say, I'm going to explain this in a much more simple way. Now, in your body, you have mitochondria, which are, your, if you like, they're your energy cells. And what happens is if we're wanting to do some activity, the mitochondrion releases some energy. So imagine you've got this battery with 3 units of energy. Okay, so we do some activity and that releases some of the energy. So now that battery has just got 2 units of energy. So what happens is, imagine you take that battery to the factory where they add back the energy. We use fuel and oxygen, and that goes back into the mitochondrion. And again, the mitochondrion releases another energy battery so you can do activity. And that cycle happens very quickly. In about 10 seconds, one report I read was saying that that's how quickly this happens. Okay, and for a normal healthy person, this works well. All right, now we call that aerobic because we are using oxygen. Okay, now stress can mess up the normal functioning of that process. Okay, so what can happen is that, actually let me move my image, the demand for energy is greater than the supply and the recycling stops happening. Okay, so now what's going to happen is we've got all these batteries with 2 units of energy, but they're not being recycled. Okay, so now there's no energy to do what we need to do. Now, let's say someone is feeling fatigue because they've not got the energy that they need, but they kind of pushing themselves. And let me know in the chat if this is something you've ever done. I can put my hand up and say this is something I did on many occasions where my body was saying to me, you haven't got energy, but I kept pushing myself. So the body's got a couple of options. What it can do is it can use that 2 units of energy, or it can take one of those 2 units of energy, which means we're left with 1 unit of energy. The problem is when we're just left with 1 unit of energy, that gets lost from our system. We pee it out. Okay, so now that energy, that battery isn't available to us. Okay, so now we've got even more of an imbalance in this kind of healthy cycle. Okay, another option is we can use D-ribose. Okay, we can use that to fuel our energy. Okay, but that's a slow process. It takes between 1 and 4 days. So that means, that explains why if you've overdone it, it can take a while before you start feeling like you've got energy again. All right. And the other thing with D-ribose, according to Dr. Sarah Myhill, is that it can cause fermentation. So it's something we need to use judiciously. All right. Fermentation causes lots of issues in the gut, which means we don't digest our food properly. That's going to affect, the available fuel to us. All right. And obviously, if we're in a state of stress, that can play havoc with our oxygen levels. Okay, can mess up the balance. So another strategy is that the body can flip into anaerobic energy production. So it's not using oxygen. There's a couple of problems with that. Number one, it results in a small amount of energy. Number two, it produces lactic acid. Any ideas what happens when we have lactic acid in our body? Pop your answers in the chat. I'll give you a moment. So what happens when the body produces lactic acid? Any guesses, any takers? Okay, the answer is that we experience, pain. Sorry. Okay, we get pain. If we get lactic acid buildup, we get pain. And actually, it takes a unit of fuel plus 2 of these, but actually that should have been the batteries with 3 energy units to get rid of the lactic. Sorry, when we are in anaerobic energy production, i.e. we're not using oxygen, okay, we get the fuel, but we also get the lactic acid, all right? And in order to get rid of the lactic acid, we need a unit of fuel, i.e. the glucose, plus 6 of those batteries, okay? So that's very inefficient, okay? And so that people with ME don't have those batteries with the 3 units, okay, which is ATP, okay? It stands for, 3 phosphate groups, all right? So it's not an efficient method of producing energy. So if you've got no energy, then, it's understandable that people feel like, I need strategies to manage my energy, all right? But consider that building energy is a completely different project, okay, to managing our energy, all right? So consider that if we are in sympathetic nervous system predominance, i.e. in the stress response, the fight or flight response, our body isn't producing and storing energy, okay? The energy switch is off. So conversely, you might be saying, well, how is it that these people that you talk about went very quickly from having no energy to having energy? Well, what happened is they learned how to activate the parasympathetic nervous system response. Okay, now I know I may have lost some people. If that was too technical, just let me know. But for some people, they do say, actually, it just helped them understand what's happening. All right. But yeah, some people, when they learn how to activate their parasympathetic nervous system response, the healing state, what happens is that the body starts to produce and store energy. That switches on our energy switch. Okay? And that means that people's energy levels start to improve and they start to make improvements. So just to give you a recent example, this is a client who sent me her metrics that she got. I think she's using a Garmin device to measure her activity levels. And what you can, I'll kind of talk you through it because the writing's quite small. So the red horizontal line represents a period from May last year to coming into January this year. And as you can see, with a few fluctuations, it's pretty consistent that her the number of steps she was doing is pretty consistent, okay? And it's staying fairly horizontal. Where that black arrow is when we started working together. She had a preliminary session, which is a free strategy session. Anyone can have one of those. There's no obligation to buy anything. There's no obligation to be a client. And I don't do any hard selling. And often people say to me, just having that session just gives them some ideas about what steps they can take. And I'm really happy to do that. I offer 3 of these sessions each week. And as I say, there's no obligation to be a client. But we started to work together in January. And as you can see from the green line, that her activity levels have improved. Okay. Now, she's a work in process. There's progress. There's more work to do. And, sometimes, often when I'm working with someone, they start to get more energy and then they overdo it. And then they have to kind of just recalibrate and get back on track. But as you can see clearly, she's been making steady progress. Okay. And she has been doing things that, she hadn't done before. So Becky says it was great. So thanks for letting me know, Becky. That's good to know. I must admit, when I discovered what I've just shared about how energy works, I got it from Dr. Sarah Myhill's book. I had to read it a few times, but it kind of was like a light bulb moment. It helped me understand, what was going on. All right. And it also helped me understand why it is some people make very quick change. All right. So, but appreciate the feedback. So we're going to explore this topic in more detail. And I'm going to go into this next week, all right? But I've got a bit of home play for you, okay? Which I invite you to consider. What are your personal stresses? What are the things do you think that are putting your body in the fight-flight response? I really invite you to just write a list of these things. Let's see if I can share my iPad with you, and I'll just give you an illustration of how I do this with clients. So I invite you to just really brainstorm and think, okay, well, what are the things that are causing stress? What are the things that I can do something about? What are the things that maybe I can't do something about? So, for example, I was having a conversation yesterday about with some friends about the state of the world, and we were kind of just acknowledging that there's kind of quite a lot of crazy stuff going on. And actually, let me just looking for my pen. Don't know what I've done with that. I was literally using it earlier. No, can't find it. Okay, I'll skip that. But what I invite you to do, I'll maybe just share this. So, imagine just writing a list of, on the red side there, just things that are stresses for you, and then start thinking about what are the solutions. And if you bring your notes to the session next week, we'll start to explore some strategies. You can share your stresses and we can start to brainstorm some strategies. So if you've got any questions about any of that, pop it in the chat. I want to keep this session fairly brief because people tend to be a bit put off if the videos are too long. So if you've got any questions, I say pop your comments in the chat. If you'd like one of those free strategy sessions, put the word strategy in the chat and I will share the link. If you'd like to know more about how I can help you, we can have the strategy session. We can then talk about that. I offer a course called Building Resilience, which is a 12-week course. I offer coaching one-to-one and also group coaching. So if you'd like to know more about those options, let me know. You can put options in the chat. So, thanks for watching. Keep going. You've got this. Wishing you great health. Thanks. Thank you, Simon, says Becca. You are welcome. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.